Cafe, and I am recording self-ranking because I have opinions of my own. That's clear enough already, but more just giving us as to why. And I also brought along Smady and Warlord because I figured that they would be able to pitch in and provide some interesting conversation as well.
Hey guys, I'm here. Hopefully I can add some interesting points to the discussion.
And since Warlord is here, this won't be like Warlord's stupid ranking video where he talks for literally an hour and a half by himself.
Yeah, having you two along makes it a little bit easier to actually talk about the sets.
I can't wait to talk about all those sets. It's going to be lots of fun.
Alright, so first set here is Scout. I really, really despise Scout. First of all, I spread the 3 drinks over 3 inputs, and I knew that was a bad idea when I was writing it, but I did not expect it to be, and I realized that especially as I wrote more moves for the set that I had absolutely nothing to put in here, because when the up aerial is aerial upward bat swing, it's just yeah, you run out of ideas. And I mean, just being generic isn't enough to get to absolute bottom. We've got Slacking and Slugworth, which are above it. But what really I think is what settles Scout at the bottom is it's just extremely generic. The only thing it has is just knocking around traps, which is useful in CTF, but not that. It's just so... Why would you have this set when Spy already exists? Aside from the fact that he can offensively use traps against the opponents. Just, again, this set's also completely out of character for Scout for reasons that Agi explains in his comments. And just, DM just sends me 30-second footage of Scout, and I just realized that I did it all wrong in my set. Just, I don't even know what to say about this one other than it's just terrible. I should not have made it, ever.
One thing defended about in this how anti-trap it is, it's better at just playing traps than the freaking Spy with just how far he can knock them and how all his attacks are really good at damaging them.
Yeah. The other thing I just hate about it is just how the guns were used and the fact that I gave him Baby's Face Blaster in the first place. I think that was a good idea. Actually, no, I never thought that was a good idea. I hated this set halfway through writing it. With Slacking, I realized immediately after writing it, oh god, this set's terrible. With this set, I realized halfway through writing this, oh god, this set is terrible, and there's no way I'm going to be able to salvage this thing.
Well, this set was made, the most quickly of any of your sets, wasn't it? It's, made more quickly than even Slacking.
Well, no, I made it over multiple days, but I didn't have much time on any of those days because I was loaded with homework. So, yeah. Just despise it.
One other thing I would like to bring up really quick is just, I know that there are a lot of awkward, tacky effects from the game that you included directly from the game, but, the cold stare Scout didn't actually include a lot of these things, so it didn't have to use these effects. So, the Mad Milk just seems really like a really bizarre idea to include.
I thought it was interesting in the I thought it was interesting when I was writing this, and I hate it now. Just, I hate everything about this set. It has no redeeming qualities. You're probably right on that. I'm not going to defend this thing, but flops. This actually has fans. I am slut by this because I think I have said this several times, but with this set, my idea was basically, oh hey, I'm just going to post this out on the first page that spams as many interactions as possible, and just make sure that people will read it because it's on the first page, and people will like it because of interactions, because people are shallow. At least, I think people are shallow. And with the later half of the moveset, I am just completely forcing the interactions, oh, here's the wire which just hooks up to this, and that passes charge because whatever reason. So, even the actual interactions which are done for flashy creativity are just boring in more ways to reflect projectiles around or such. I actually think that, like, the one thing in the set I remotely like is the down tilt bombs. But, I mean, past that, the set just has, like, it's just a very obvious camper with a lot of game-breaking stuff in there. Like, you can just elect the side special, and then it just becomes Sonic Final Smash. Slower moving. They Smash is literally avoidable. So this isn't that much better. Then he just says stuff like, once you have the wire set up, you basically can't lose. Just because the opponent's just going to have such a hard time dealing with this free flight monitor you have around. But when you don't have the wire up, you're basically going to, if the opponent just manages to get through, you die immediately. So the entire match is decided on 5 seconds, and then you just have to, like, wait out the remaining 70 or so. Just... And also the grab game. The grab game was not actually good. I mean, everyone loved it for some reason. It's like a worse version of Dirty Bubble. Just, put them in the interior, and it's not relevant to anything at all, but everyone loves it because, I don't know, it totally hasn't been done before, right? Except it has. It's just in this set, it's not the focus, and it's still terrible.
I actually like this set, not a whole lot, but I find the flaws actually working to the catch quite a bit. The fact that it is kind of shallow, and the fact that it is all over the place works for me in terms of having like a schizophrenic, out of control computer. And the way all the interactions work, I actually feel kind of like you're basically taking over the stage and spreading your influence over the stage in kind of a mechanical way. I just like that about the set.
My problem with the characterization is just, like, the monitor is not a flying computer screen that, like, fights with, like, electric blades and such. That's just ridiculous. And then just the monitor is the more offensive of the two, and the second form is the one that gets up in your face, and, like, even if you ignore that, most of the stuff in the set is just completely made up. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with the character. The character doesn't have much to work on in the first place, but I tried to fix that in Falls, and it still didn't really work out that well. These characters don't have much to work on, but that's not much of an excuse.
It's hard for me to say anything about that, because obviously I've never played the game.
Honestly, I'm just going to admit this flat out. I have not played Ball Ops boss fight myself. I was only able to get up to the second boss of the game and beat that. For some reason, I could never get myself to fight Ball Ops and Balls. I think it shows.
I don't really have much to add to what FA said, but really just this set feels pretty lockdowny for the deceptively severe bullet hell it has, and it's kind of ironic that despite being so lockdowny, just a caging grab game is the least lockdowny part of it.
That is pretty hilarious. And slacking. Oh boy. This was a set I made in 2 hours, and I didn't want to make. Kind of like Scout, but here I think it ended up being a bit less offensive, but at the same time, like, it's just extremely generic and has this mechanic which makes it that you're not playing him half the time. And, well, you are playing him, but you're just playing him with a very restricted moveset, and when you are playing him normally, he's just broken as heck, which, that's sort of a fitting playstyle for slacking, but then he just starts terraforming, and that's just ridiculous. And, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's just really generic and really boring. And I didn't want to make it. I just made it because I wanted Junahu to comment Predators. I'm not even joking. That is literally the reason I made this set. And aside from that, I figured that I hate this thing.
I think what I dislike about this set is mostly just how the character actually is a character I really like from Pokemon. It's like one of my favorite Pokemon of that gen. And it does have some potential, but it's really easy to screw up. And
my biggest problem with slacking is just I know this character is supposed to be high potential. So obviously him being generic is stupid, and I made a terrible mistake there. But what exactly is this character's potential? I don't actually know this. I'm kind of confused.
I wouldn't say it's high potential. It's just like melee based. And it's like a set where you'd use rest and shit. Like you have to juggle with downtime a lot, and how to work around that and how to make it playable. It's hard, but it actually has defined elements you need to include, which make it easier.
But yeah, this set provides like nothing to talk about.
Well, this is my most hated FA set, so yes, I am the main one who has always been saying that it has high potential. And it just doesn't really even have. It doesn't even really have that much of a tiredness mechanic that you'd really expect out of a set like this, where like you would cancel into going into tiredness with Giga Impact / Hyper Beam, that shit that slacking always does. And even though it has OOC terraforming, it just somehow doesn't manage to do anything interesting with the terraforming. It's just there, which is kind of bizarre to me.
Oh, you can roll boulders down a tilted stage. Brilliant.
Oh, well, strength is normal type of taking out boulders, so it's in character.
I think what makes me dislike this set a lot is the fact that it does do stuff, but it somehow avoids the character all the while. I'd say that's pretty uniquely bad.
I could see this set being anyone's most hated. I just loathe Scout more because CTF. I had to make the set for CTF, and it's just as boring as this one.
I wouldn't say it's like even anywhere near the worst ever, because at least it's slacking sets that's dedicated a bit to going around hitting stuff. That's not the worst ever. That's just boring.
Slugworth. I made this set in 15 minutes. I think that's all that really needs to be said about it. But the set's got just like it spawned this ridiculous meme just because in the forward throw, well, it was originally intended to be a pummel, but I just completely forgot that I did not put pummel in the set. So he just asked the opponent for the gobstopper, and if he asks them 5 times, they give it to him. And that's, of course, that resulted in people just being terribly amused by just random everyone in the entirety of MYM Brawl having a gobstopper. Aside from that, the set is extremely generic. There's some throne abuse in here. There's mind games that don't actually work with hiding time bombs and papers. And there's just pistol shots. He just has a gun for some reason.
Well, he's obviously an evil candy maker.
It's still a bit ridiculous. And then, of course, there's this amazing up special. Slugworth lunges through the air in a stunning feat of acrobatics he should not be able to perform. Yeah, it should give you the idea that I wasn't taking this seriously, and it's still better than those other 3.
It's about as in character as slacking with all the random bombs and guns, but at least it's used to be more interesting than that set, at least.
Which is kind of sad.
And that and also this character is just so undefined, you have to be at least a little bit forgiving.
Yeah, this set's definitely better than slacking, but still extremely blah. So, for the Yummy Mummy, aka the most embarrassing name of any of my sets to say out loud, like, it's kind of like, oh dear God, why did I say that? But enough of that. The set is basically set for children's cereal mascot. And what he does is he feeds the opponent cereal, and then he makes them vomit it up, and then he drags them through the vomit and makes them suffer with, like, acid milk and such. And you see how that would be problematic. The actual set is just mass grab hitboxes, Stromboli-ish tether move that really isn't played off well at all, and doesn't really... it actually does flow into just dragging them through the goop that you made them throw up all over the battlefield. It's just, like... I'll be honest, I thought when David told me to do this set, I was just thinking, oh, Grimdark cereal mascot, so clearly I will just make the milk acid, and I will make him force the opponent to vomit stuff everywhere. Because Pretty Yummy Mummy is just that much of a sadist.
Bonus points if the milk is a slip and slide.
There is no milk slip and slide, thank God. No, we're saving slip and slides for later. Except that I actually like, mind you, but I don't like the slip and slide aspect very much. So, Cophagragus is a set of mine I don't think anyone read, because there were only 2 people who commented it. Oh wait, no, there were 3. There were Nick, MT, and Koopa. And Koopa actually liked it, while Nick complained that it was super broken, and MT just thought it was stupid for the character because he just summoned mummies. And I can agree that having him summon mummies is a bit ridiculous, and having him, once he mummifies the foe, just extend a string of gauze off them to create a bigger hurt box for the opponent. I actually think that's a half-decent idea, and probably the main thing worth talking about in the set, because aside from that, all he does is spam grab hitboxes to stall the opponent out for the mummies to grab them so that the opponent's specials are disabled. It's definitely not a particularly good moveset. Actually, it's very bad.
I assume MT's offended by the gauze because it's not really that much of a Pokemon move.
Yeah, it's just it's a bit ridiculous for the Pokemon. I mean, I think that the main thing I hate about this set is just that every input is just a grab hitbox, and you know from my thoughts on Yoshika that just gets very tedious for the opponents. They have to button mash out of that. And it also just makes shields worthless, and it's just a stall for something that's really kind of a boring payoff, and it's also tacky. No, then, I actually like some parts of this set, like the splitting neutral special projectile, where you can charge up 2 projectiles at once, which I thought was somewhat cool. And, it's still not really... It's just got so many awkward problems that I can't really rank it any higher than this. Get Stuff was another set that I think I really did put much thought into making it, because it was like, oh, hey, it's Halloween, and I don't have it. There's going to be no Innistrad set, and Innistrad is a gothic horror-themed magic block, so I figured, oh, hey, I need to have an Innistrad set exist. So I was scrolling through characters and couldn't think of anything I could make a good one-day set for, and then just saw Gatstop, and I'm like, you know what, screw it. He has sheep, and he can turn into a wolf. Let's do this.
I was just constantly telling him on the day of the set's release to not make it, just because it was a one-day 56-input set.
Yes, and he was right. This set probably wasn't worth making, but... So, naturally... just the idea of the set was, oh, you make sheep, and then in the wolf form, you can disguise yourself amongst and eat the sheep. And aside from that, there is shield breaking in the shepherd form, and then you have the forward smash to permanently disable their shield, so you can go into wolf form and then just wreck them with your anti-dodge attacks, which only hit the background and not the foreground, because I'm stupid. But, at any rate, I actually sort of like the whole shield breaking into anti-dodge dynamic, but it's really nothing that shield breaker sets haven't done better before. The set really has no reason to exist when stuff like Mime does, or Shauna. Aside from that, it's just like, it's very tacky with stuff like, oh, on the up throw, you can only shield it. You can't dodge it, despite the fact that it allows you to shield and only shield it. That's the only way to avoid the attack.
And you can just shield in the middle of being thrown. Yeah, apparently.
I don't know why I did that. And aside from that, Shepherd is generically underpowered as hell, because I want you to go to wolf form, but that actually makes Shepherd useless to make it so the most viable way to play him is just immediately go for wolf form. And again, like, sheep-based invisibility isn't a good concept. It's just random, and it's kind of dumb. And he does nothing to play off the invisibility, when last contest we just had Pennywise and Gengar. So, yeah.
It is pretty bizarre you come up with a power as random as that, don't really even do that much with it.
Did Warlord say earlier this set had 56 inputs?
I meant 46.
Okay.
Anyway, I definitely hate this set, but I don't think it's as bad as some of the ones below it. Simply because, again, there are, like with Caphagrigus, there are some occasional decent ideas in here. It's perfectly playable.
The one thing that I actually kind of liked about this set was just the game under the stage as the wolf. But then you just bring that back in Vorinclex, make it actually not terrible, so yes.
Yes, this set's main purpose was giving Vorinclex an extra concept. And then Warlord just made 30 sets with stage clinging games on top of that. So now Cat Stuff has absolutely no reason to exist.